Test 1 2 3. Test 1 2 3. It's not working. It's not working. All right. Here we go. Hang on. Kill this. Okay. Go back to Zoom. Okay. All right. Let me get set up. Okay. Here we go. Okay. So if anybody wants to come into the studio and talk about anything except for the clickbait and doom and destruction and all the stuff going on the global stage, and wants to talk about what they're going through personally and how that relates to the collective, the link is in the Zoom and I'm sorry, in the YouTube and the Facebook. Until somebody comes in and wants to join me, I'll just start talking. Shout out to Ty Hudnall. Thank you for the music. Let me just make a couple more adjustments. All right. Happy December to you. Anybody want to come into the studio, just click that Zoom link and we'll have a conversation about anything but the clickbait. I won't talk about that. All right. Okay. Well, we got about 30 people in the house on both platforms. Drop the music down. Yeah, anybody wants to come in and have a conversation, we can have, 2 or 3, 4 more people on at the same time. There's a lot going on, right? Morgan and I have been on a extended honeymoon, well-deserved, for the last 6 months, so I don't hardly even remember how to do any of this stuff. All the different apps have changed the way they do things, so I wasn't even sure if I'd be able to pull this off, but I think we're on Facebook and we're on YouTube. When's my birthday? December the 9th. All right. So, yeah, let's talk about some things until somebody wants to come in here and sit down with me. I invite one, two, three, four people, whoever comes first. But we're not going to talk about all this gloom and doom, and I'm going to say that, and all these narratives, both of the savior mentality as well as the doom and gloom. Let me kill this. Boom. Let's see. Let me get rid of this. Boom. Stop. Okay. Yeah. I don't, as usual, I don't even know what I'm doing or what I'm going to talk about or what we can talk about. What I do know, what I don't want to talk about, because I haven't spent a lot of time on social media in the last 6 months. But when I go on, I see a lot of interesting things. We're all picking up the energy and it's coming through in our multiple senses, not just in our five senses. And, you can call it a higher telepathy or intuition or the unified mind coming together. So there's a lot of stuff out there. I'm just spent a lot of time and a lot of years, obviously doing the show and other video productions and things like that. Um, and it's interesting to see how many of these platforms are blowing up now. Uh, and, I watch them pretty intently, um, just to see what they're talking about, what the subject matter is. And it just seems a lot of it is about predictions, what's going to come, the forecast. Um, and I just feel like that, um, at the end of the day, this whole trip that we signed up for, and we all did sign up for it, um, is really to direct us back to ourselves and therefore each other. And it's really the same for any and all narratives out there. There's a lot of people that are jumping on the bandwagon of uh, Trump, and I've got no political affiliations or any. I don't really feel like the 0 point or neutrality, divine neutrality, can really carry one side or the other. Whether it's the saviors or the bad guys. But what I'm saying is that I see a lot of um, people aligning with one side or the other or one narrative or another. And I think we've all come to a point, we've all done so much work, over the years that I think we've underestimated. And we're really starting to see the effects of the work um, that we've done over the years. The links to come in the studio are in the YouTube chat and in the Facebook summary and in the Facebook comments. So, yeah, I just think that it's very easy for us to lose sight of what seems to be the only reasonable, soul sensical uh, objective for why we come down here, which, in my opinion, and I think a lot of people's opinions, is to grow our soul on an individual basis and therefore to contribute to the collective in equal proportion. I mean, we talk a lot about the Trinity. What is the Trinity? The Trinity is to expand myself or to illuminate myself, um, share myself equally or in equal measure with the other and the collective, where all 3 points of that Trinity are served equally. And it's interesting how things are unfolding here in the world. And I think personally, and I'd love to talk to some people about it, that there's still a fixation on reading our progress based on the collective movie scripts that are playing out. Um, and I just caution everybody and myself to, stay neutral. This is the 0 point field. This is the soul highway, divine, what some people call divine neutrality. And I think it's, it doesn't really matter if something that you see or I see from my perspective or your perspective that is light or dark, if it is something that is taking us on one side or another of that 0 point field. So, yeah, anybody wants to come in and have a talk about anything but the old and the ordinary and these clickbait, and I'm not taking shots at anybody. I just look at these other platforms, light workers, starseed platforms, disclosure platforms. I mean, we all know over the years we've learned. I mean, we don't need to hear these things over and over again. Again, this is my opinion. Um, we know that we are eternal souls that have chosen to come down and inhabit this body and work on the objective of embodying our soul, higher self within our human body in every conscious moment. I know that may sound like a fairy tale or some kind of far off fantasy, but I'd much rather run with that and run in that direction than to run in the direction of fixing myself with one side or another, where there's one group on one side and one group on another. We're here to represent the 0 point field. This is the grand experiment and the grand experience. These are my thoughts on it, my perspective, my opinion, whatever you want to describe it at, my beliefs. But I really feel like that, especially over the last few days, it seems like there's been a huge uh, something or another happen like never before. I've seen different people that carry different types of contrasting perspectives. Oh, somebody's here. Hang on. Sorry about that. Let's see. Hang on. Okay, got Dr. Joe Delaney in here. And I think Susan's coming. I'll get you on in just a second, Dr. Joe. Yeah, yeah, but I just feel like that the days of telling people what they need to do, and the days of saying those people aren't awake, and unity consciousness is unity consciousness, and oneness is oneness, and there are no exceptions. And I think we're center stage in this multiversal realm, which is a huge, huge thing. We may seem like we're small, but we know everything in this experience is upside down. So that which we think is small is big, and that which we think is big is little. And there's so many belief systems that are dropping, and it's bringing upon us a opportunity to really dip into the truth of the soul, and with that, a humility comes. So I'm going to bring a couple of people on here right now, and you're welcome to come in. I'll keep my eye on the waiting room, and we can probably hold maybe. I'm going to bring two people on now. We can probably hold another, maybe four of us on at one time. But yeah, we're just going to run with it. It's spontaneous and see what happens. And so let's welcome Susan Bornstein and Dr. Joe Delaney. Let's see. Boom. They're coming. Yeah, we don't need to beat ourselves up anymore. We checked all those boxes. Yeah. Here we go. Got two people coming in. Oh, let me put that back. Hang on. Panelist. Okay. Uh, they need to unmute and unvideo. Susan. Hey, Dr. Joe. Hang on one second. Susan, I'm going to ask you to start video and ask to, there you go. And unmute. Unmute. Unmute, fair lady. You see, you see, yeah. There you go. All right. We got do we have a Dr. Joe, can you say something?
Hello, Todrick, my boy.
All right. Susan, let's test your mic. Just say something. Shows your mic's on. Okay. All right, I'm going to pop over to YouTube real quick and see if there's anybody having a problem over there getting on. All right, we got quite a few people here. That's cool. 30 people on YouTube. Very cool. And Facebook got about 40 people. Okay, we got Susan Bornstein coming in again. She's coming in on two different uh, devices. Susan, you might want to turn the one off that you're not going to use when you figure it out. So what's happening, Dr. Joe? Let's have a
They
conversation. How you
Todd,
doing?
nice to see you, mate. All right,
Yes.
it's our anniversary this time last year. We were in Houston meeting up, weren't we?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
we're closing out the old and bringing in the new.
That's the one, mate. Yeah, and a lot of things have happened in that year, but in a way, it's the same old story, really. For me, I
Yeah,
agree with what you've just said before. Is to me, it's about staying in the 0 point or this neutral zone, and it's just act upon the information received from one moment to the next. You know.
yeah.
And I think more than anything else is, as you say, we don't need to be telling anybody anything. We just need to be sort of feeling into the next moment and acting upon the information received. That's the same to me, mate. It's been a turbulent year, but I think we're here, as you say, to develop self-mastery, really. I think this is about the soul's development, working through the ego. And the ego to me is the mind-body complex of the human being. So that's where I'm up to. In myself, I feel great. It's interesting, it's challenging, and it seems to be becoming more and more chaotic or lunatic all the time. It's just, I mean, as you say, in the last week or so, it's crazy where we are now. We've got like storms like that, like we've never seen before in where we actually are in the UK now. So there's loads of different things going on. And Todd, I don't get in to try and work out what's true, what's false, or anything now. I just go with how I feel,
Yeah.
and try and be helpful and not harm anybody, really. It's really quite simple for me.
It sounds all right to me.
Yeah.
But Susan, did you get your mic worked out?
I think so. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, there we go.
Dr. Joe just gave us his synopsis of the past year. We'll jump back into it. That was very short. But do you have anything you want to add to it? I don't know if you read the post or heard my comments at the beginning, but you're welcome to jump on in there.
I don't know. I got my own very unique perspective on things. Dr. Joe's a little more upbeat than I am, but I kind of agree. It's about mastery. It's totally about mastery. Since my first Sology Fest, my psychic ability kind of just opened up like a big flower. And after the second one, it was like, and now I think it just keeps. I can do incredible things, and but mastery, like what do you do with that? Like it's not a parlor trick. It's like mastering living in a much more expanded world, I guess. And but then it was my dad said to me that the end of November was when the whole collective would turn, that we would not recognize ourselves, and that we would be perched for interstellar communication, which is my thing that I love. And around the day that was supposed to happen, I got really faint, kind of blacked out, fainted, hit my head, did a big black eye, and went to the hospital, got all checked out, and I was fine. But I feel like really spacey, and I'm like, I don't know. Like, yeah, that's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of change, a lot of mastery to be had. And even though I feel like I've worked on this like all my life and stuff, I don't think I've done much at all. I got lots and lots of work to do, but I'm up for it. It's fun. So that's where I'm waiting for. Well, I don't know. The world doesn't change. My understandings of the things my dad said to me when I was a kid are completely different now. And the world, like I had this dual right, wrong, on, off vision of what it meant to be human, of what a world is. And it's not, and I still wait for those kind of things, but they're not realistic at all. It's perception. I'm perception. Everything is that. Being human is perception. It doesn't change like turn off the light, turn on the light. It's not like that. Yeah. Okay. That was it.
In pure fashion. Uh, well, yeah, I mean, on one hand, it's easy to say, um, don't pay attention to anything external of you, but at the same time, the external is telling us exactly where we are in every given moment. So, I think, I just want to be clear about that. It's not that, people talk about, well, there's people in these circles that just say, focus on the love and light, focus on the love and light. in a judgmental way. And I'm sure I've done it in the past. So I'm not picking on anybody. I'm just saying that I think that, you know, what this year's offered for us, and we can go back to some of Dr. Joe's comments leading up to this year. But I believe we've gained enough awareness and had enough alignment, most importantly on a personal level, to where we can trust ourselves at this point. I mean, to where we can, maintain, sustain, expand our what people call sovereignty. Our soul, and we don't have to do anything outside of our own field and making a decision decisively to stand our ground. I mean, it's interesting because there is a lot of distortion, and maybe that's not the right word anymore because, as Dr. Joe said, there's crazy weather all over the world. There's, I would say probably, I'd like to hear what you guys have to say about this and other things, but there's seems to be more frequent and more obvious glitches and timeline shifts. We were sitting out here 2 nights ago, and Venus and the crescent moon were sitting side by side. I don't know what time it was. Probably 7 o'clock. It was already dark, and they were positioned between two buildings off our balcony. And we went and did something, and 45 minutes later, we came back, and they were gone. They weren't up, they weren't down, they weren't to the side. They were gone, and it was kind of interesting because then we lay down to do a session, and no, I'm sorry, we were sitting out there talking about it, and these things also happened at, how you'll be thinking of something or talking about something, and then in that moment, there's this external confirmation, or that just happens to happen at the same time. Call it synchronicity or whatever you want to call it. But the there was just some weird stuff going on. We came in and lay down, and we were kind of talking about it, and then the power went out, and then the air condition turned on by itself, and then the computer screen turned on by itself in the other room. So, it one thing I've been kind of noticing for myself is that everything's changing so fast. There's not even any time to sit down and really review it. Morgan and I do reviews, we always have, but a lot of times we don't anymore. And even in our sessions, there's been a lot of silence, but yet the communication has just been off the hook. Last night seemed to be a very, very vivid. It was a very vivid and a very powerful moment. I say moment. I mean, maybe this is 20, 30 minutes. It was. I think 100% silent. We were laying down in bed, and I guess you would say doing a session, and there was just so much stuff coming in, and I just wanted to remark that over the last 2 or 3 days, I've seen quite a few people as I popped on, people that for quite some time, some more known than others, that seem for quite some time to be bringing in credible personal intel or personal downloads or whatever you might say. And I saw in different ways it was being said that it's on. We're on this thing now. It's wide open. It's here. Like, no bullshit. This is something really, really powerful. And there's a lot of people that have pointed to this, that I've seen on the little bit of social media that I've been involved in, or some things that Morgan will channel, or that she'll send me, that other people have spoken about it. And I'm talking about the lesser knowns, but also like the Lisa Renee's and the Lauren Giorgio, what is it, New Life Institute, Sandra Walter. I mean, a lot of other people. But at the same time, there's this massive upsurge in what I would call, the traditional starseed light worker disclosure platforms. And it just seems kind of interesting to me. That's why I had the comments I did at the beginning, because it's almost like we know the story. The story's over. It's time for the new story, and it starts right now. There's no more waiting on anything. There's nothing to wait on. And I agree with you, Susan, in the sense that, like, what do we do with this? And I know Morgan's talked about it since the beginning of the year, and I'm going to go back to Dr. Joe on it because he had mentioned last year. But I remember in January 2023 being told, and again, my life, the things I'm doing, the things y'all are doing, it's all tied together. It all parallels what's happening. And I remember hearing that what the year would be like, the same kind of rhythms as the previous years, but that come December, at least in my capacity, we would be kind of closing out the old and opening up the new. And it seems like the new has kind of come in gradually, a little bit at a faster pace, obviously, but kind of just been meted out there. But in the last couple of months, has really just really exploded. And in reference to what I was saying about Morgan, and I've seen other people talk about it in a different way, and that is that the final leg of the mastery or the coming out of the feminine, the golden child and the masculine would come to a head in the last 3 months of the year, and of course in this month, and that we're basically preparing to create this new earth. And the other thing I might add is that Franco De Nicola, our brother, he talked about a lot of things, and he didn't talk in terms of hard and fast predictions and forecasting. But I do remember many of the conversations, the 52 conversations we had, and I remember him specifically talking about 2025 and what you were saying, what your dad said, and that it would be a whole different place come January 2025. So Dr. Joe had referenced that, and then he also referenced that something about this. This was I don't know what you said exactly, but it was a tough year, 2024. Not tough like other ones, I don't think is what you were talking about, but like there's a lot's gone down. So I'm gonna throw it back to you, Dr. Joe. 2024. I don't know. Let me just preface it like this. I'm not trying to ask a leading question at all because I think being open is essential in expansion and to what we're really doing. But it's I remember hearing in November of last year, on the 9th of November, that everything's behind us now. There's nothing hanging on to us. There's nothing holding us back. And you know how that goes. You get something energetically and it takes time to physicalize and be embodied. But that's kind of how I feel about it. It's like waking up every day and going, nothing from the day, through yesterday is it really, I'm not going to say that it doesn't mean anything. It's reference material, but we're actually in this space that we don't know what it is, to Susan's point. But yeah, so Dr. Joe, I don't know what your thoughts are on the past, who we were yesterday, and anything you want to jump in and just start talking about it. Then Susan, we can come back to you.
Yeah, I don't know what day it is from one day to the next, Todd, and I'm not bothered anymore. I walk in one room and I say to myself, what have I come in here for? Because it's almost like I can't remember from one moment to the next. And I'm okay with that because I know that the information I need will be given to me right when I need it. And I think more than anything else is my things is the F off approach, which is focus on feelings first. And I don't think that we have to so much do anything other than get out of the way and just allow this process. So my feeling is that we get done to, right, rather than having to do anything, and I think there are times when my things about is if you're in emotional reaction and you've been triggered, then that's something else that you need to let go of. It's a judgment at some depth. So really, if we feel the grip or the trigger, rather than go forward and automatically react based upon patterns from the past, it's to realize, oh, I've been triggered. don't do anything, take a step back, get back into neutral, and then ask the question, or I do anyway, to me heart or me heart of hearts. What is it that I need to learn from this here? And it's got, Joe, you just said yes there. You need to go back and say no. And that almost like, I'll go back because the little child in me thinks, oh, do I have to? And the answer is always yes, you know you do. Go back. And where you've said yes, just say no. That will realign you. And then more energy will flow in, and then you can carry on, you know. So where I used to sort of run round ambulance chasing all the time, and I'll save you because I know lots of stuff and all this sort of thing. I can't be asked anymore now, Todd. I think it's just about what do you feel like doing today, Joe? Right? Go and do something that you enjoy and let everybody else get on with it, because I'm beginning to see that at a soul level, everybody's responsible for the choices they make and the consequence of those choices, right? And you know, and what if you don't make the aligned choice? Well, you'll feel disturbed. So like you said before, you and Morgan do reflection at the end of the day. I think I still do that. I sit there and I just sort of run through my day, right? And this is just the way I do it and the way I explain it. I run through my day and I sort of get a sort of a picture of incidents, and I get a picture of where I might have been triggered and what I have to learn. And it's almost if the next day I get like a rerun, right, of the same scenario where I can make the right action. Something else I've learned, Todd, is what I do today, right, isn't necessarily what I need to do tomorrow, because if I can't step forward one day and step back the next day, then I'm still limited, right, from patterns of the past. So just to sort of knock this in the head for a bit is I think there's a simple phrase, right, that says yesterday is history and tomorrow is a mystery, right? And that's an AA saying that, really. But I think it's true for me, because we're almost being forced just to let go of those things and to live from one moment to the next, what they call the now moment. And I feel now when I come out of that now moment, right, and I start making things up, then I become misaligned. I start to feel uncomfortable, and I've got to find myself centered and grounded again. I've gone on a lot there, but I normally do, you know. And the other thing is, I think a lot of people have lost their sense of humor, Todd. You know, I think people have become awfully responsible, and this is this and this is that, you know. And I'm finding that loads of people are getting onto me because, I mean, they know I'm in this sort of business. They don't want to be here anymore. They're depressed, they're anxious, and they're suicidal. And they ask me, what do I do next? And the only thing I can do is share what I've gone through, what I'm going through now, and me hope for the future, and help them to go back to their heart. Because I don't know what I need to do next, Todd. I think I get given that information from one moment to the next. And I certainly don't know what anybody else has to do, other than what you're looking for is in there, not in here. There we are. That'll do for the now.
So, there was about three things it's been so long since I've done this. My brain's not working the same, but I don't think anybody's is. I'm going to come to you, Susan. Hang on. Elaine, Elanya Evans, she put up this comment. Glad to see you, Todd. Feeling like we all have leaped into the new timeline of 5D, staying present in the now moment. Yeah, and that kind of aligns with what Dr. Joe's talking about. And I would just add that I don't think we have a choice at this point. I don't think we ever really had a choice in a certain sense. But you mentioned that when people are asking now, and some of the things that you're hearing, seriously, and we've all said it because we've talked about it on these shows, the old show, that is, get me out of here kind of thing. That whole thing, I think that's probably more of a momentary thing now, because it seems like that, there is more of a wave or a volume of what we call awareness. I mean, I'm not seeing it in traditional ways, but you can see it in those little dots on the map that are us, that seem like that doesn't have the exposure in the collective that what big platforms do. But going back to what you're saying and what you're telling them, and then what Susan shared with us at the beginning, and what I'd like to get into after she talks, is what am I doing on a personal level? What am I experiencing on a personal level? And Susan's talking about getting zapped end of November, and you know, and then having the experience of fainting and busting her eye up. Thank God you're all right. And but yeah, so Susan, I think, and I feel like that is, you know, we talked to many years, we talk about authenticity. I believe that I've always believed that authenticity's, you know, the direction that you're going, or what you have to do to get to full transparency. And I really feel like that's what's happening, whether any of us like it or not. Everything comes out. There's no exceptions. But I feel like that the personal code is the most powerful. As again, this is just my perspective. Is the most powerful thing on the planet. Last night, when I was telling you about the session we had last night, you could literally feel, and I could see some things as well. There was a few things that happened. I won't get into all the particulars. Maybe Morgan and I can jump on here at some point and do it. But there was visual lights. There was visions in both of our third eyes. There was continuity in the telepathy and the intuition and just what was happening. And it felt very collective. And I think she even pointed it out at that moment. It's like, this just happened. And it felt like that. And then I saw a few people putting posts up, you know, again, mostly what we would call obscure in terms of, you know, contrast to these big platforms that I know on a personal level, having seen their stuff over the years, and they seem to be having this element of something just happened, something's going on. But I really feel like that these things occur as we face ourselves on a personal level, and therefore that plays over into facing each other, etc., seeing the world for what it is, and this and that, and everything coming out. But Susan, let me ask you this, especially over the last, you know, say couple of months, what's your personal experience been like? Has it been all peaches and cream? Have you had some hellacious days or nights? Have you had chaos? You know, have you, you know, had expansions or whatever you can add to it from your personal experiential? I think would be something good to start with, and we can kind of move from there.
Hmm. What I find it lately is like, I don't even understand good day and bad day anymore. Like my period, is my experience good? Is it bad? It doesn't make any sense. I'm doing what I really, really, really want to do, and that's going to cover everything. I mean, like, right, that's going to bring joy to the unpleasant and to the pleasant, and so it's like not really. Doesn't it? A lot of things don't make sense. Possibly they never did. Like you were a kid, and this doesn't make sense, but then you learn to live, right? It's odd, and okay, if I start talking, I start talking. When I was in the sixth grade, the teacher asked, "Why do we have opposites?" And she picked me to answer. I said, there are no opposites. And she ignored me completely and said, yes, that's right. We know good, so we can know bad. And we know cold, so we can know hot. And I said, but there is no opposites. And there are no opposites. So if there's no opposites, then I'm not having a good day or a bad day. And it's all, but I'm doing what I want to do. I spend a lot of time. I was never a dreamer. I like there was Castaneda's terms, dreaming and stalking. Stalking was you use your daily life and your relationships to, I don't know, expand yourself. And dreaming was an art that I really didn't invest in. But lately I do tons of that. And I guess it's the new earth dreaming. And I do lots of that. And I do it with others. And I like it. And so there's in learning to, and just living through a day. So being present. Yeah, well, I was never good with linear anyways, but now it's like, okay, this is constricting because I cannot just get up and go put a couple of marks on my painting because I feel like it, because I'm supposed to be talking to people. I mean, this is too constricting, but it's not really. I just have to go with it. And even if I say I'm going to do this and this and this, it's not going to happen. I mean, I'll get up and go do something else. I do constructive things, but yeah, there's, what is it? Yeah. And there's like glitching, like if I try to be normal, the glitches are so pervasive. Like the old movie is just so ridiculous, and everything breaks. Everything's a process. If I go to the grocery store, the cashier doesn't know how to run the cash, and I have to get behind the cash and show her how to run. I don't know how to run a cash either in order to get my groceries out of the store. I mean, everything is just a joke. And yeah, but I'm kind
All
of
that.
like, what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. I'm gonna jump in with mine, and I think yours is a perfect lead in for it. But I want to go to this comment on YouTube. Uh, Newbie Moons. Um, says it has a couple of good comments here, but I'm going to read this one here. As an example of some of the distortion that we're looking at, or, you know, what I might say are distractions, with regards to all these drones being sighted in UK and USA and elsewhere, do you think they're coming from other dimensions that some of us can now see due to raising of our frequency? Um, you know, I think there's a lot of questions like that, and I'm not here to be an expert on any of them. What I'm here to say is that does it really matter? Because everything outside of us is speaking to us, and everything outside of us is us. And I know this sounds like this old cliches and all that new age bullshit, but it's really not. You know, I mean, it's the only path that none that any of us have yet to really sink our teeth into. We've all done the different roles and, you know, the nationalism positions and other, you know, socio political, you know, even economical, cultural, you know, positions that we've taken, and we've prided ourselves on, you know, moving towards a unifying vibration, you know, and working in tandem with, you know, the, we might say, the universe, the external that we all share. I mean, it's such a infinite thing that, you know, there's no way in hell that any of us. And I told Morgan this morning, you know, sometimes you just got to sit back and you read all this and read all that, and I value these things that these people say and the insight that they share. But it's like, you know, I mean, it's like we can totally, you know, overcomplicate this thing. And we've talked about this for years, but it's like, you know, it's all me, and it's coming down to our present space. We talk about presence. We talk about present, and I feel like that. I don't know how much. Well, I think there's definitely a relation between how much work we've done in ourselves and what we're experiencing in our lives locally, and also as all those fractals combine and create the collective experience that we're still having, evidently incarnated in this body. Um, but the but the thing that I was getting at is I think there's a direct correlation between our present expansions and our transparency. So for me, you know, a lot of people know our story and everything, and I won't go into all that. But I will say that it seems to have always paralleled the collective, you know, as we played our role, masculine and feminine, Morgan and I know many others that could relate to that on a personal level, whether that be through their own experience or through that with a partner. But over the last, I want to say, especially over the last couple of months, there's been an absolute, to me, just an absolute stripping of belief systems that I think was already occurring toward the end of last year and into the beginning of this year, but it accelerated like so many of these other downloads or experiences or information or code has, you know, over the past 12 years or whatever. But it's come in so fast, and it's been so like a naked truth, like the truth looking you right in the eye. And I'm talking about major belief systems, to include any and all narratives that we find in the Lightworker, Starseed, disclosure communities, whatever it may be. And what I'm really talking about is the personal experience in terms of really going deeper and deeper by virtue of these universal energies that are hitting everybody. And for me, it's been this uh, constant surrendering of, and I don't know how you would really describe it, but it's been a combination of, and I mean personally and collectively, uh, internally and externally, you might say. And that has been the stripping down of what I thought, or what I felt, or what I carried as a male, um, uh, and then also having a greater awareness of the female. And I'm really talking about, the emergence of the masculine and the feminine, and as many people call it, the golden child, or whatever that third name is that you would use. And what it's been like has been huge. And what I mean by that is, it's not been like the old years where we went through curled up in a ball, crying like a baby, but it's come in very intensely. It's come in repeatedly. And I think Dr. Joe was referring to this a minute ago, how you get the information through an experience and then it comes around again for you to see it again. And one of the things that came out when you were talking was, like I can just think of one choice a couple of 2, 3 months ago that we made, Morgan and I, which was basically where we were going to go. And we chose to go one direction versus another direction geographically where we would be staying. And I understood shortly thereafter that either one of them was the right choice. We never make a wrong choice. There is no wrong choice. It's just a matter of how much of a beating do we want to take and what kind of environment do we want to live in, without any judgment, just saying, oh, that's how that works. So I won't touch the stove again when I see that it's the coils are orange. So for me, there's just been a lot of, and I've never really talked about this. I've not talked about this. I don't even know if I can talk about this with any type of articulation that makes sense. But, I'm speaking as a being that knows that this is not all there is, but that this is everything. This body that's Todd, that's a man that's had this life, that's done all these things. And all of those things, whether they were deemed failures or successes or middle of the road, have no give me no merit and no credibility in from where I'm standing now, because it feels like I'm standing in the void, and nothing from yesterday up to, well, just say up to 5 minutes ago, from my entire past, all lives, has been neutralized and categorized and filed away for reference as I need it. And I'm walking out there, and I, like you were saying, I think both of you were saying, what do we do now? I don't know what to do. I mean, it's not a bad thing, but let's find out. But it feels like that these things that I've gone through on a personal level would be something that would have been debilitating in previous years because of the magnitude of the shadow that's coming up. But the shadow seems to have a different characteristic now. It's almost like you see it coming in, or you see that loop coming in, like Dr. Joe was talking about, coming to show itself, and you know that the other side is just the other side there, and you endure it. And we've talked about this over the years, where they come quicker and quicker, and they still sting, and they still go deep in this and that. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that I've I've really not struggled, but I've contended with losing all my identities. You know, that's why I probably will never do anything again with the name Sology. Not because I hold it in great regard. I'm honored to have been a part of it. It's a consciousness like everything else that we create, that runs in its own timeline, its own stream, and there's, obviously multi energies involved with it. But Todd is a dad. We talked about roles and relationships in the past. All of us have, yeah, I'm not Sology. I'm not, I'm not a rapper guy that likes to do spirit rap. I'm not a talk show host. I'm not any of these things. I got nothing. One of the values of being here in Mexico is I walk out on the streets and see these common people, and I say that with the most grace that I can. That they're totally present, whether it's an oyster farmer or somebody that's selling tacos on the side of the road, or just mothers and children, and it's such a nice change from the Western culture, and I feel very blessed to be in this environment because it gives me a perspective that I don't have to chase. It's the one that I used to carry around in the Western world, and you had all these distractions like traffic and cops and this and that to pull you away. But I don't think I've done a very good explanation. I don't want to be the only one talking, but I just want to end it like this. What I've experienced has been, I would say this, and I'll be careful to say this, the biggest challenging, prospects that the universe has offered me ever. And it's been, it's been a very humbling trip these last, I would say, last few months, because of giving up these identities. And it didn't hurt, and it's changed so many things, even the relationship with my family members, my relationship professionally with people, my emails and messages are non-existent. I don't get anything from anywhere. It's just, and I think that's kind of indicative of the concept of what we bring with us, and therefore what we're losing, or what we're the veils that they are. The identity that I'm Todd Medina, the identity that I'm a spiritual rapper, the identity that I'm a talk show host, the identity that I'm Solji, and this, that, and the other thing. The only thing I really know is where I'm at, who I'm with, and what we do. And what we do is, like you were saying, you get up in the morning and you just start going for it. And it's a really, really peculiar, sometimes interesting space. And I'm blessed to be doing it with a beautiful partner, Morgan. But I just want to say one last time, this has been very um, confronting. Uh, the episodes come very quickly, like the intel does now. It comes in very quick, and you get it, and boop, you're on to the next one. No time for review. Um, Most of it happens internally, and obviously I have a partner, and we do some of it together. But it seems to be happening together, even if we're not doing it together. And I'm walking on the beach by myself. But it has been very humbling, and it has been confusing. And one of you used that word, and I feel like that, at this point, if I'm confused, if I'm being humbled, if I'm being confronted, if I'm looking at this or looking at that, and I think Dr. Joe talked to this about triggers or things that make you feel uncomfortable, then I'm in the right place, because I've had enough of the expressions, and I'm going to call them old expressions from myself and any and all other things that tell me this or tell me that, um, tell me what's happening. I mean, I don't fucking know. I just know that I'm very happy to be here, and I'd like to stay here for a long, long time and see what we can do with this stuff. But if it's my time to go, it's my time to go. But I have what I would call, almost like a radical, um, not aggressive, but a grace that just won't quit. That's just going to beat the living shit out of everything until you can see it and accept it. And so that was very long-winded. It's been a long time. I'm not totally back on the horse, and I don't know if I will be, but thank you for letting me speak. I'm going to hand this over to Dr. Joe. We have somebody else coming in by the name of Claire Ann, and I'm going to put her on the panel. But Dr. Joe, you keep going.
Yeah, Todd, I agree, mate. I mean, people say to me, what do you feel is coming up? I say, well, it's nothing to do with me. It's nothing to do with you either. If you're living from one moment to the next, right? But what about the past? I mean, you use the word review. is there any point in reviewing now? Because that's just sort of linking on to past patterns. And you mentioned something else about the collective. I think we're being moved away from the collective so that we're working beyond memory now. And that's not just beyond personal memory, that's beyond the collective, beyond ancestral memory, into this zone of I've got no fucking idea what's coming up next. Right. I'll just do what I feel like doing, and that's what I do every day now, Todd, more or less. I'm still not perfect, but I'm getting better and better. And people say to me, why did you do that? I say, because I felt like it. Because my intention in my heart, Todd, is to be helpful. It's not to harm anybody, but it's to try and get as much joy out of life as I possibly can. So if I keep looking at Netflix and Prime Video and Telegram and all these sort of things, and don't get me wrong, I'm aware of what's going on out there, right? But if I get hooked into it, right, if I can't handle it, maybe I need to stop watching it. But I just look at that stuff that's going on out there, and people say to me, are they chemtrails? Are they contrails? Are they this? Are they real UFOs? Are they materializing UFOs? I don't care, Todd. I'm not interested. If it pops up right in my field of vision, right in front of me, then I'll give it some consideration then. Other than that, it's a waste of energy. It's a distraction, and it just takes me away from my primary purpose, which is the joy of living, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And people say to me, Todd, they say, how can you laugh about things like this? Because I feel joyful. Well, you shouldn't, because there's so many children being killed over there. And of course, that's dreadful. It's dreadful. But it's bugger all to do with me in this moment, because there's nothing I can do about it. And the other thing I'm seeing, Todd, sentimentality and nostalgia and all that, to me, it's a trap, because it's another way to drag you back into the past. I don't know, Todd. I don't know how it works, mate, other than the way that I feel.
Right. Yeah. And that's one of the things that I've kind of come to personally is just, it doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it's this story or that story or this belief or that belief. They're all gone. Every one of them's gone. Every single one of them. And I think part of the reason that, for me anyway, and I've got to believe that it's expanding, is that to be able to be in that state, that an openness to, you don't know anything, an openness to even being open to psychotropic technology, where how do you know that the higher ups, because anyone that thinks that the control in the realm anyway, and I'm only speaking from the perspective of the human, right? Then not the multidimensionality, or maybe I am. If anyone that thinks it's coming from here, there's a lot of higher frequencies, and I think that's what the comment was in the YouTube, talking about, are we seeing these things now because we're at a higher frequency? But my point is, there's so much there that we don't know, and it doesn't matter where it comes from. It doesn't matter. And so, am I open enough to question every voice that I hear, and have those conversations? Or I'm having them with the universe, basically. I'm having them with the universe, whatever you want to call them. I'm having them with me. I'm having them with my insanity or my sanity, whatever the case is. Things that awakened us, that we haven't let go of. Things that we've been that we haven't let go of. Things that we thought we were right about. I mean, there's just so many different things. And so for me, it all comes down to the same thing. And just to give an analogy, which I kind of said before, which was, you wake up in the morning and nothing from up to the previous night, right? Nothing applies. None of it can help you. You've got reference material, you've got memory, but causes are dying, right? We've got to save the earth. We've got to do this. We've got to do that. Really? Haven't we really kind of taken ourselves a little too seriously? I'm speaking really to myself and just sharing that, but I want to go back to real quick. I found that from this time off after 12 years, I basically have taken a year off, basically. Uh, I've learned that to spend time with myself, even if I never speak to anyone again and I live on an island in a hut eating coconuts, is the path that I want to be on. And I guess, and you might say prioritize over all of that scripting out there, because to me, that's what it is. And I'm not judging it. I'm just making a choice. Uh, I'd rather delve into, use the word mysteries before, into the mysteries of me, right? Into the universality of me, into whatever I am, or whatever I am not. I really don't know. But so for me, it doesn't matter what it is. It's still outside of me, offering me information, which is great. Um, but in terms of like what I'm examining and what I'm consciously looking into and focusing on, I know now, for me anyway, that in this year that it's much more valuable, much more productive in terms of what I give to the collective than doing 5 talk shows a day. Is for me to actually bring my frequency, uh, and then obviously have the opportunity to do it with my partner as well, which is a whole other thing, because that's the math of this 5D, right? That's the math of this multidimensionality, is the 1, the 2, the 3, 6, 9. It's not the old math. So, and the saying where two or more gather. We have a friend, so I'll go to our new friend and then to Susan and then back to Joe. Anki, you want to turn on your mic? I just sent you a note here. Turn on your mic.
Yes, okay. Hello. Just
Hello.
hello,
Where-
Todd, and all of you. I was just seeing on Facebook and join. Okay, I thought I will join. My name is Anke, and I live in the Netherlands, in the northern part in Friesland. And I just popped in, and when you were talking, and I do recognize so much what you're saying. It's all the past is gone, all the old is gone. I felt the same this summer. During summer, I prefer to sleep in a tent, to really down to the earth. And one morning I woke up and I just, the total change in energy and frequency, and such higher frequency. And in this frequency, I can experience everything and at the same time nothing. And this is expanding and expanding more and more. It's really, I'm on a journey this year of saying goodbye to so much. That's sometimes confusing and chaotic, and but more and more I feel this is just the way it needs to be now, and to experience for letting go and really have no attachment to what. And it's beyond emotions, beyond anything. And at the same time, the more and more I go into that, the more and more I can see, I can feel, I can experience. And for me, that's also gives trust for the moment I am in now. And believe me, my life is in chaos and it's not easy. And I don't know where this all heading and going. And I don't know. When I watch the news, I have a dairy farm, a very small dairy farm. Everything will change. That's what I saw a few years ago. And now I see it in the news. I see what's all coming up to us. But for me, it's okay. I just trust that I make the right decision at the right moment. And that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
See, that's beautiful. I think that's beautiful. Everything that you said, I really do, because, and again, I know we all have work to do. I mean, it's a never-ending thing. I mean, the journey of a soul is never-ending. I mean, we never stand pat. It's not in our blood, so to speak. But to turn on, a show or whatever, a podcast, and to hear somebody say something like that, and to see that uh, expand in frequency and in terms of how often we see it, but also the level or of awareness and everything that comes with it. To see that type of expression to me uh, would be real solid, as opposed to what is has evolved and what's still playing out. And I know we all have different perspectives, but I guess what I'm trying to say is what you represent in what you were saying, what Dr. Joe said at the beginning, what Susan said, uh, this whole element of, I don't know, I'm okay with whatever happens. Uh, I'm going to stay as centered as I can. I'm going to feel into things. Yeah, my life is a challenge. Okay. To put it all on the table like that, I believe that's the most powerful code we can witness. And I
Yes.
believe that there's a lot of that, a tremendous amount of that has gone on, in particular in the last 12 years, regardless of what's come out of our mouth or hasn't. That there's this tremendous personal evolution, resurrection, whatever you want to call it, that's happened in so
Oh,
many
yes.
individuals around the world. And that's what I would love to see every time you go on to a YouTube podcast or or social media podcast or see a post is to really lay all that out there. One of these people that's say more real prominent on let's say podcast or in these communities to say something like that would be mind blowing, you know, because we've heard enough about Egypt and Atlantis and Lemuria, and we know what we're made of. I mean, there's enough of us that have pulled it in. And yeah, it's hard to believe. It was hard to believe. We've gotten past all that stuff. We're getting past the doubts to the point where uh, the most from the old perspective, the most unsensible thing is the most soul sensible thing. And that is who we are and what we're a part of right now, which totally includes everything that you just epitomized from your own, your own presence and your own being. So, you know, it's a really cool thing to see that. And I do believe that in the work that we all share together, we've shared together all these years, there's always been an element of that. There's always been an element of somebody pushing through and saying, hey, this is who I am and this is how I feel. But I think now it's a little bit different, because now it's almost like uh you know the joke I said the other day was the antivirus, right? Like it's the equalizer. It's the if you have we had an earthquake here 3 or 4 days ago, and it was kind of trippy. But a lot of people have talked about their mortality. I mean, Morgan had a huge thing happen 3 or 4 nights ago, unbeknownst to me, because we were having a session. I was probably snoring, but um, these letting go of death, these deaths. That's the one thing I left out earlier when I went on my little diatribe, is that they're deaths. They've been deaths, literally deaths, one after another, and yet what's left standing isn't just this pristine soul. It's also the you might say the last leg or the last life of this multiple incarnating evolution that we've had. that part's there too, which is what Anke brings out, the human part, you might say. So yeah, thank you very much. And we're going to keep going with this. Susan, you want to go ahead and jump in? I'm going to bring in Jose Angel, somebody from Puerto Rico. Susan, if you want
I
to,
thought of some things. I thought of one, there are a lot of people are into conspiracy and disclosure, and they did it to us and all that stuff. And that's like my dinner table conversation when I was like 10 and 12. And back then people would say I was really obnoxious. And now if I tell people that they're being really obnoxious, I sound obnoxious. It's creepy. It's because like it was different back in 1963 or whatever, and now it's like everywhere. And I'm going like, just shut up, which is what people used to say to me. Yeah, it's true, but, and yeah, so there was that. And the other thing was about the collective. In Dreaming New Earth, I get the sense of the human collective is dreaming New Earth unconsciously and unified. And when I first kind of came upon that, it was really, wow, disturbing and difficult, and it still is. Sometimes it's because I'm used to calling the collective that thing that dreamed separation, and that's what I've always dealt with. But the human collective has turned, and now we are unified and dreaming, and it's so different because separation and unity they're not opposites. They're just so different, but it's actually happening. And so the human collective gets a bad rap, but really it's doing a great job. And it's what we had a contract to separation, and that contract is canceled now, and it's all turned. So I'm just putting a good one in for humanity. And the other thing is what my dad told me, because something about I want to get out of here. And I don't know, I've never been suicidal particularly, but one time my dad said to me, okay, so you want to leave here, but you are here. There's no here without you. And if you were to choose to die now, after the light show, you would still be here. So you could not even commit suicide and get out of here because you are here. I'm going, okay. And I wasn't trying to get out of here anyway, but I thought that was deep. Anyways, yeah, those are the three things I thought to say. Thanks.
That was deep, and your dad is right. And that's another, I bring up Franco again. He used to say that because there was a time when his position or role, and I believe it was before he incarnated, because the Franco we know, that what we knew as Franco, the only time he ever incarnated was in that lifetime. He popped in like as a drop in from time to time in previous incarnations, but so part of his role was to receive people when they were transitioning out, and he would talk in particular about suicides, and that the first thing out of their mouth would be, "Oh my God, I want to go back. That was so fucking cool," you know. So I think a big part of what's happened in this past year, or the culmination, there's been all this stuff has been going on, and it's all culminated to where it's like, it's right in your face, and that is that the value of what we chose to do, because it's what we referred to, or from the human perspective as a standalone, is the darkness and the pain and the suffering was actually what brought the new code and wisdom. But I think at the same time, we've reached a point where, and this is kind of what I was referring to, people have been pointing to, particularly even in these last few days, which is we don't have to do that anymore. And that happens right here, body, mind, soul, that happens right here, decision right here. So, it's as the things are being released, the things that are coming in simultaneously are really, I think the way I see it is that's where our focus is going now. Like, how do you know what to do? How do you know how to create? How do you know how to do it in this new energy, in this new world? You don't. But one thing you can say is that you can't find out if you're distracted or in any of these old loops that are actually all gone now, and really just our reference points. But let me go to Jose Angel. You want to turn on your mic, and then we'll go back to Dr. Joe, and then Anke, and then Susan.
What's going on, peeps? Nice to see you, Todd. Haven't talked to you in a while. I was on your show like
I know you are.
Yeah, because the
Taino.
soul, yeah, that was in this old paradigm, the soulology, like you say. We had to let that identity go. I had to
Yeah.
go back to
Yeah.
my birth name, man. That's part of the deal. And I guess just wanted to feel the flavor of fellowshipping. Just share with space with other human beings, and because I kid you not, man. You mentioned Franco. So yesterday I watched a podcast where Franco was on it that I'd never seen before. He was sitting like on a couch and somebody was interviewing him. And the interview was about a death experience he had, not a near death, an actual death experience. And it helped me so much because at least my experience that in the time that you were doing zoology and whatnot, there seems to be like a connection made. Like I don't know, Joe. I mean, I can follow his life. I see his lives sometimes, and we have that archetypal experience connection. 12-step experience. And I see him come on at time and trigger Todd, talk about his third step, and all this and that. And, and just, it seems like this Crystal Harmony, I watched him on the show a couple of times. I know he's got his own deal going on, but it seems like somehow, some way there was a connection made, like a group of souls or whatever. And I've never met anybody in the physical, but Joe was talking about nostalgia. I can't avoid it sometimes, and I feel nostalgic sometimes. I'll put on like 80s music, and I was trying to figure out, man, why do I go on this nostalgic trip? And it's because I was young, like, and I had my whole life ahead of me. Still, what I'm saying? It's that feeling of like, oh, you had your whole life ahead of you. And now to see Todd, man, and living in Mexico, bro, I never thought I'd see that. Todd used to share, like, growing up in Corpus Christi, that they named him Todd, like trying to anglicize, and negate those roots. And now he's living in Mexico, man, And it's a trip, man, to see, people evolve and go about their lives and the unpredictability of it. But, how things change, I'll be honest with you guys. This whole exterior and what's going on, I'm at a loss, man. I have no idea what's going on. It seems to me that the new Earth is it's a new matrix. It could be even a falser reality than this, man. It could be that's the carrot. You know what I'm saying? Like that 5D is deeper in distortion. The higher the D, the more distorted it is. You know what I'm saying? Because the more I ground into the humanness, I have 5D. I want it because and then I bring the elephant in the room in these circles, which is the G word, which is the God word. What, how come we never, what is the God thing? You know what I'm saying? Where is God in all of this? Because I want to fucking know, because I've been wondering ever since I was programmed as a little kid and be made to baptize and believe this Christian narrative. And now, where is God in all of this? How, and so what I'm seeing is the God is in you. God is here with you, and that's why I'm drawn towards other humans. And can I see the God in you, man? Because how it's so fucking hard to have compassion for people sometimes, man. And I'm forced every day. I go in the corner, I see people on fentanyl in the street, my car gets I'm in the middle of it, but can I truly feel compassion? And what does that really mean without going overboard and then, bringing that energy in and losing my peace and my, what is the right balance? Because do I really want to be indifferent to other people's suffering? Do I want to exercise that way? You know, I was drunken for 29 years. I don't want to do that anymore with whatever it is. I want to feel whatever I'm supposed to feel. And to me, the question is, you know, where is God? And, you know, what does that mean to me?
So what you're saying is, and it's a good point. What you're saying, part of what you're saying is that to really feel compassion, but feeling compassion doesn't mean you have to do anything. And I think that, you know, Dr. Joe referenced this earlier, and I'll just use the term because we're all familiar with it. But every single one of us has been a wounded healer. Every single one of us tried to serve to bring evaluation to our worth. You know what I mean? But I believe that obviously the compassion part of it is part of it. You know, it's part of the many virtues of whatever it is that's you know anchoring and landing. You know, and again, and I've said this many times. I mean, it feels like a natural progression sometimes. Let go or be dragged. I mean, this is happening. I don't know anybody. Uh, you know, this is happening regardless. It's not. It's a you know force of universal nature, whatever you want to call it. But that's a really good point because we have it embedded in us that judgmentalness. You know, if we see somebody that's you know in a tough situation or whatever it may be, we want to help. But I think part of what we've learned, you know, in these last couple of years is we don't have to get involved because, to your point, we're bringing that on ourselves. But I want to make one other point about compassion. We got joined by Robert Evans, by the way. We're going to put him in the hopper. But I think for me, the compassion comes in. I mean, it's easy to be compassionate, and I'm in the same boat you are. We can walk out here, and there's a homeless family of three that lives in the plaza out here, and it's easy to be compassionate, and we might think it's a challenge to be compassionate because we can't look that way, right? But where the compassion is really where out for me personally, which brought me personal growth, and I talked about it for years of pulling up people that made me uncomfortable every day. I'd pull up their pages and I'd look at them, you know, as a practice, and I would look at them, or in my head I would look at them until I could see, to the best of my ability in that moment, myself and them, or me as them, or we're equal. There is no better or worse, and it's not just bullshit coming out of my mouth. But I think that's where the real compassion is when somebody has violated your family member, or somebody has done something heinous by human standards to you that's affected you or someone that you love on a personal level, and yet you have what you're calling compassion. And I believe these words take on new definitions, expanded definitions as we've moved into these new frequencies. And this is a good example because the compassion to look at the perpetrator, the violator, and that can be a person, place, or thing, right? And to be able to put yourself in their shoes, or to be open to whatever it is that drove them to that point, you know. That's real compassion, to have compassion for the people you don't like, just to be plain, to have compassion for yourself in terms of judging those that you don't like because, or you're not comfortable with, because who the fuck do you think you are, you know? And I mean, that's radical compassion, radical grace, radical reverence. You know, I mean, this is evangelistical, steroidical, cosmic, universal, right? You know, so, but I think that's a good point. You know, it's good to be having this conversation, and I'm gonna hold off on Dr. Joe and bring Robert in, and then we'll go to Dr. Joe. And if anybody else comes on, we'll start dropping people off. Susan and Dr. Joe will be the first ones, but let's go to Robert and then Dr. Joe.
Well, hello. I'm so excited to be here. It's been a very long time since I've communicated with a lot of you, and gosh, I've been on an epic journey since. I'm kind of going through a death process right now, though, where a lot of my journey over the last 2 years is actually collapsing in on itself, and I'm reintegrating parts of myself that I kind of lost. So it's really interesting. It's time to put all the pieces together rather than be so extreme in some ends of the spectrum. I've been very extreme over the last 2 years, and that's been really coming up. So anyway, it just feels like very nostalgic. It like the whole part of this conversation, right, that you guys are talking about. It's really coming through full circle with me. I went to an ecstatic dance event last night that I haven't gone to in over a year. I see these people like once a year. And that was powerful. Going to poetry slams, open mics again that I used to go to, like just reintegrating these parts of myself, you know. And with the compassion piece, I feel like it's so important that I had a huge experience. I had a huge experience where I did really try and help a soul family member really work through a lot of things that they were struggling with on really deep levels. And this is someone I've really been very close with and has been a friend and mentor and a lot of different things. And I really saw this person struggling, and I saw some of the people around them struggling, and I tried to help, and they really wanted my help, but I overextended myself, and I got crazy badly burned.
Hmm.
It's
How did
very,
that feel? How did that feel for you? Because that's really what, right?
yeah.
The value of it is, right? I mean, what did that do to you?
Well,
What
there's so
happened?
many layers to it. I mean, it number one is incredibly humbling because, you know, you realize first and foremost, like nobody really knows what they're doing, myself included. And that's
Correct.
a big thing that I think in the spiritual world, you know, we can start to think that we really
It's not
understand.
just the spiritual world; it's the world period,
Oh, for
right?
sure.
You
But we
know,
start to think we understand or we know something or we, you know, and then you're ripe for a good humbling once you once you think you know
every
something.
day, every
God's
single
gonna
day.
yeah, God's gonna come and teach you a lesson. And then you know, I so that happened. There was a lot of humbling that came in, and then also I learned the value of telling people no.
Of course,
I some people really need to be told no, and interestingly enough, some people in my life told me no
good.
because of my extremeness. Um,
Yeah.
and
This is a I think this is a timely comment right here. I'm just going to break in, and you can go back to it. Sasha Grace, most of us know her. The narc energy is one that has followed me and tried to destroy me on every level. This is the energy empaths are now being asked to completely separate from. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. Helps. The reason I feel like that this correlates is because to me, that's one of the big ones. It could even be the biggest one, because let's face it, we're in a narcissistic realm, period. Anywhere where there's a superiority vibe or an inferiority vibe, and so my thing is this, one of the other things that I do, and I still do this, I still do this one, is is how can I call myself an empath? How can I call myself an empath if I can't call myself a narcissist?
mhm,
Okay? Because this experience that you were just describing to us has narcissistic elements on both sides, you being
sure.
one side, right? And I've been there and we've all been there. And I think this is another thing because, as somebody said early on in one of the comments, we're bringing everything together here, right? And I think everything has a different definition. So when we call ourselves an empath, we think that it ends with the ability to be able to feel. And somehow that gives us the moral superiority, right? Because we're of the light. And where my point is, if you know, empath, empathic ability is the ability, in my opinion, in this new era, the ability to put yourself in the other person's shoes wholly, WHOLLY and HOLY, to be able to feel to the full extent, because that is you're looking at, and again, None of us know what we're doing. We're all finding out because we're experiencing life and realizing that the same thing's showing up over and over and all this stuff we talked about all these years, and you make a new choice and you go on. It's not really about right and wrong. It's just simply about refinement, and common, what I'm calling soul sensical, you know, and so I think that's a great, because I don't know if you saw, but when I came on and I put it in the thing, it was like, what's going on personally? Let's not talk about the clickbait. Let's not talk about the old shit. And I think this is really a good example because we can all relate to it because many of us here have had a practitioner role of some sort or another, right? So, to be able to honestly, you know, have the retrospect and appraise the situation on both sides, I think this is the kind of heartfelt transparency and authenticity, people use that word, that is carrying the strongest codes that we have at our disposal. No longer coming from the ethers and all the different elements and aspects of us, but actually coming from us real time and saying, hey, man, I had to tell some people no. And also, some people told me no.
For sure.
See, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's so different, and Anka put it so well. When she just really broke it down to the bottom line and said, and I'm just going to paraphrase or put it in my own words. I'm standing here. I don't really understand everything. I don't have the answers. I'm just doing the best I can. I'm open-hearted as much as I can possibly be, more and more every single day, something to that effect. So I see that as the most powerful code that we can offer to ourselves and simultaneously to the other and to the collective. So go ahead, Robert, and then we'll go to Dr. Joe.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and it's interesting because in that no, I've been really integrating some negative human emotions too, which I find when we wake up in spirituality, things often become very much, it's about love. It's about, it is about compassion. It is about gratitude. It is about, these things. And it's very true. But then sometimes I need to honor the part of myself that's actually really pissed off. And I need to listen to it. I need to give it some space and give it some time. And, so that's been another thing is I do feel ultimately I made choices, and I'm not saying I'm a victim in them, but some people did lie to me and some people did falsely represent themselves. And, there's my susceptibility to that, but there's definitely some things that I had to learn some very harsh lessons from. I guess what I'm trying to articulate here is that I simultaneously am learning how to have that compassion for people in their process, in their messiness as a human, in their narcissism, take a look at my own distortions, the ways that I've been a messy human, the ways that I've been narcissistic. I do very large clearings on specific concepts, and narcissism has become a very important one. So it's very interesting this is coming up, but narcissism has been a big one. Obviously, I did the zero pointing with Todd and Morgan, or Morgan, taught me that like 3 years ago. And even though I use different types of energy work, that type of practice of going in on specific distortions I see in others inside myself has been fundamental to my spiritual practice. It's just such a big deal. Like just to take the look at the other person and be like, you know what? This is me. This is a reflection of me, whether I'm embodying the opposite or this actual distortion. This is something that I'm somehow involved in some sort of way. And really working to understand it, clear it up, come into like a higher level of alignment or consciousness around this. It's just always more consciousness, and so I guess what I'm seeing is like, I'm learning to like have compassion for someone in their difficult process and in the fact that they have trauma and they have behaviors and they have things that I really harmed me in a lot of ways and really harmed some people around me, but also say no and also respect that some people are saying no to me and that I've caused some harm to some people in my life.
Exactly.
Based off my behaviors. and my intensity, because I'm a very intense person. I see something I care about, I go all in on it. This is like ever since I was like a little kid. Like I just, whether it was taekwondo or wrestling or spirituality, like whatever I think is the most important thing, like I would go crazy deep into it to the extreme. And like that has, I like, you know, I kind of joke around and say, like, not even joke, but like I'm very fire. Like I'm like, if you were to look at me in an elemental form, I'm very fire. I catalyze change a lot. And I burn people sometimes. And like I need to integrate that and calm down and be more water and like, you know, be less intense and more grounded and like more of a person that people can rely on, like a reliable person. You know, and that includes jobs and work and finances. And I want to be a father. I'm 29 years old. I actually have different goals than a lot of other people in this spiritual community. A lot of you are
So, whoa.
raised families.
Part of this new band of frequencies is directness, bluntness. You know what I mean? I love you, Robert.
Yeah.
This isn't. I'm just trying to. I've done enough of these, which is why I haven't done them. I don't do them anymore. I don't know if you know that, but I've probably done 20 this year. All right. So, you know, I never did less than 40 in a month. All right. My point is this. You know, we talked about this earlier, the overcomplication of these things. Okay. And then when we talk about these things, compassion, empathy, non-judgment, it starts with ourselves. And so listening to what you were saying there and what you were going into, that's what I was, you know, that's what I was feeling. I know you personally. I know your heart. I know your fire. But, you know, anywhere there's judgment, and I'm speaking to myself and sharing it with my friends, but anywhere there's judgment, there's narcissism, period. I don't give a fuck who you are and what you represent. You know, I'm not saying that to you, I'm saying that to myself. And so this whole thing, you know, I mean, it's like we talked about earlier. Everything up to the moment this started, you might say, doesn't apply anymore. It's not even real. So these people that we have these interactions with, and believe me, we all do every single day. Your story is no different than anyone else's, and mine's no different than anyone else's. And they're still happening, okay? They're just messengers. They're actually friends delivering code to you or delivering potential to you or to me. And that's really, you know, to me, where we're landing now is in this weird place where all of this rhetoric and all these narratives are dead in the water, including who we think we are, okay? Including, like I said earlier, I'm not Sology. I'm not a conscious rapper. I'm not a podcast host, you know? I'm a soul. And my name is Todd in this incarnation, and my wife's name is Morgan. And we've had all this stuff happen and shown of all the past lives and tens of thousands, but none of it means shit. The only thing that matters is this moment right now. That's it. You know, let's show up and be buck ass naked, really, because it's got a whole new meaning now. And so what I find compelling is the intensity that you have, you know, that we all have, the intensity that you have. It's not the words that come out of your mouth. It's not that. It's the heart that comes out of you. And I think that's where the whole empath thing kind of got sideways, is that, yeah, we all feel and we all want and we all see the inhumane things and all this bullshit, but it's really us. In other words, we're, like you said, you know, people told me no. People told me a lot of things too recently. You know what I mean? I mean, there's things that we're finding out about ourselves that are superseding the substance, or in comparison of what we see outside of ourselves. It's what we're finding, what you're feeling, and what you talked about when you walked in the door, and what Anka talked about and the others talked about. What are we feeling? What have we found out of ourselves? Because none of this stuff comes, the recipe was pain and suffering, imbalance, confusion, constriction, restriction, repression, all the victimization, whatever you want to call it. I really feel like that we've moved past this. We've actually landed in this space, and it's so foreign and so weird because none of the old components apply, that these bare bones, direct conversations, without any agenda, without any, hey, this is who I am, or this is what I know, all of that shit. I don't even know what to say, I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what I'm talking about. I just know that in this moment, I'm alive, you're alive, we're all sitting here alive together in this supernatural, cosmic, multidimensional, reverent mindfuck. And somehow or another, it's the most special place we can be. You know what I mean? So I totally disagree with you in terms of your intensity, because your intensity is your heart. And it's always come through you, just like all the others. And that part, there's nothing wrong with it. And there's no reason, in my opinion, at this point, for any of us to damn ourselves or judge ourselves or say we need to do this or need to do that. We're fucking whole, man. And nothing can stop us. And we're in this incredible experience, this incredible experiment of having a soul and body in the flesh and actually apply all the virtues, attributes, magic, and abilities of the soul in the physical. I'm really interested to find out what it's taking for people to actually find these levels of humility, what it feels like, because I have no explanation for it myself. I mean, I can't do it any justice at all. I don't even know what I need to do professionally, vocationally. I have no fucking idea, man. I have no idea. I'm wondering, am I supposed to be living in this extended honeymoon frequency with the love of my lives, right? And by virtue of the illumination of that, the universe will reciprocate, right? Is this what we're into now? Because to me, all the causes are gone. All the roles are gone. All the relationships as we knew them are gone. All the connections we knew are gone, right? Is it a localized situation where you're just in this universe of 2 blocks around? I don't know. But I do feel strongly that your intensity, all of our intensity, that's our heart. And the one thing that we don't want to turn off, the one thing that we want to blast is our heart. And there's no way in hell we can make a mistake by that, because even in the situation, the example that you're talking about, where you had a captive audience or captive people who were open to you assisting them, it sounded like they were even acknowledging that they needed the help. And you went in there with your extreme passion and your open heart with all your human condition flaws, and you kicked ass and took names because the code was delivered by the intent that you had, So it's a weird thing, it's a weird environment. And I don't even know why I jumped on today, but I'm really happy that you did. I mean, that I did and that y'all did. So, but stay there, because maybe we'll wrap a little bit. And let's go to Dr. Joe and go back around.
Thanks, brother. Love you, dude.
Love you, man. Joe, you got to turn on your mic.
There we are. It's so great to be here and to see you kicking off like that, Todd. That's me boy. That's me boy. So I was going to go on today. I got this thing is just go on a live, Joe, and see who wants to come on. And then I looked at Facebook and there you were doing it, Todd. So it's in the air. It's in the air, mate. And what I'm learning and have learned is that the greatest success, as far as I'm concerned, is to be at one with yourself, and because peace of mind is inversely proportional to expectations, meaning the amount of expectations you have disturbs your peace of mind. So it's best to live, in my view, to have no expectations about what's coming up, where I'm going, who I'm supposed to be, and all that. And that's where I seem to find myself most of the time. And one thing I've realized is there's a complete difference between sympathy, empathy, and compassion. Sympathy to me is cold. It's just the head talking. Empathy is warm because it's about feelings, but compassion is cool. And I think it's detached with love. And another word for compassion for me is understanding. It's understanding because you can still feel it, but you don't get emotionally entangled in other people's lessons. That's where I'm up to now because I used to feel it. I used to get hooked in. And like Robert's just said then, I've jumped in, Robert, and I've helped loads of people, but I still had this underlying motive of I'll get something back from this. And I didn't realize that I was actually helping others in order for my own benefits as well. I'm not saying that you did it for that reason, but that's what I've learned about me. And I think that mirror is getting closer to us now, where we're beginning to see our own shit, really. And the final thing I've got to say, because I'm going to go off now and get ready for bed, but it's bloody great to see you, everybody. You know, it's I do feel part of this soul family. We've all got different perspectives. And I think if we just ask people, what do you think about this? How do you feel? And we allow them just to share that, right? And then do it to the next person. And how do you see things and what do you feel about it? Rather than jumping in and doing that cross-sharing thing, is just to listen to what everybody else has got to say. That's what I find is helpful, you know. But more than anything else is, like Todd's alluded to this, the beauty, as far as I'm concerned, is to be found in the belly of the beast. And I had to go right back to the root. I had to go and dig into the shit and all the shitty behavior that I got up to, and I had to own it. I had to go and knock on people's doors and say, I've realized now how I've been behaving. I'm so sorry about that. Some people said, Joe, when you're such a lovely fella, but when you were on the piss, you were a pain in the arse. And some people said to me, fuck off and never darken my door again. But I had to go and do that because humility comes always after humiliation, right? That's my personal experience. So welcome humiliation. Welcome all the feelings that come off, because that's burning all the shit off. And it will release more and more energy for us to go forward. See, I'm on one now, Todd. Right. This is just like the old days. Whoa, don't go back to the old days. There was some good stuff there. So
Yeah.
thanks for inviting me on, Todd. And
thanks for coming on.
Keep it in touch, mate. And I'm gonna love you and leave you all now. I'm going. Bye bye.
All right. Take care of that. Thank you, Dr. Joe. Let's see. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Okay. All right, let's go back. So yeah, he said a couple of things there. I just wanted to come in on the tail end of it. And I can't remember what it is now. I can't remember what it is, but it was coming off of what the whole exchange with Robert, actually it started before Robert. You know, so much, you know, if you really look at the environments that we've been in these last few years, whatever it is, you know, for Morgan, it's 20 years. For me, it's 12 years. I mean, everybody's different, but I think there was a lot of press, so to speak, come 2012. But if you look at this, sometimes when I don't get on social media much, but I mean, when you look at the things that people are posting, me included, over the years, there's it's almost like they're sharing their own self-discovery. And we've talked about over the years about how we download something and you can know something, but that doesn't mean you embody it, right? And I really feel like that where we've arrived to is this place where a nuke could go off in the distance, you know, an earthquake, a tsunami, whatever the case is, whatever you want to bring it on, because nothing's going to touch me. Okay, like we're reaching this space where we're actually, you might call it, and it's hard to come up with words, but like immortality. Why all these myths and all these legends? These were true, but they weren't even our full capacity, right? We are this universal moment, this moment in time, this space that has never that has the potential of everything combined, all the potentials combined, which were not met in let's say Atlantis or Egypt or this or that. They're all here. Everything's here, You know, in the last 2 or 3 days, we've had some pretty incredible stuff happen. One of the things that happened was that, and I didn't know this, but about, I don't know what it was, like I want to say a few years ago or whatever. No, it was actually like 14 years ago. Morgan had this vision, third eye vision that just popped in. It was the three pyramids and the tops of them, you know, the capstones that are removed, they were all on there and they were like illuminated, golden, right? And so we had a bunch of stuff happen, like I'm sure a lot of people have right now, especially in the last few days. And so a couple nights ago, we're sitting out there, and I said, you know what happened to me the other night when we were doing a session? I didn't tell you about it, but I don't get the type of third eye visions that she does. I have different, you know, attributes, whatever. But I clearly saw the three pyramids, okay, and I saw this golden kind of ball, this fireball hit all three capstones and light them up and then shoot off and explode. So I'm telling her this, and she goes, "You're not going to believe this, but this just popped into my head, this vision I had about 12 years ago of the same thing." Well, it had just popped in her head just prior to it. You go to the next night, and there's another situation involving the Sphinx and some other things that happen. My point is not about the Egypt timeline. My point is about this different communication that we're all having. All of this stuff that we've opened up within ourselves is allowing us to pick things up from each other in a way that's never happened before. And we don't even have a clue about it yet. We're learning about it, and the information's coming in you know, little fragments here and there, but it's real. And I think it's been going on for a long, long, long time. And we've reached a point now where it's reached a level that we can hang our hat on this thing, because it doesn't matter what goes on in all these past lives and even in this present day in terms of the movie script. What really matters is the fact that we're all arriving to this place that we don't have a fucking clue that we're coming into our own without even knowing how to do it or what to do. But there's an element of stepping into it that it both materializes and grows from. And I really feel like that can be equated to what we call the heart. And that's what I see in everybody over the years as they would blossom, you know. And I'll go back to Robert as an example, because I remember Robert a few years ago, you know, like all of us. If you look at our evolution, what's really happened? We've come out to be seen. And yeah, do we have conditioned programming, and do we have flaws, so to speak, and this and that? That's not the point. The point is really what's beneath this facade that's been shielding us from each other and even from ourselves. And so, again, I didn't really know why I was getting on here, and I'm going off again. But I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy to give it a shot and try something and hear what everyone's had to say. So let's go back to Susan, then Anke, then Jose, and then Robert.
I don't know how this works. Yeah. Well, I still talk to Julia and Zahana every Wednesday. We've been talking every Wednesday for like 6 months now, just the girls. It's lots of fun. And came up something that my dad said, because I think he was talking about today, I don't know, was that we could not imagine the new age or the world as it would be from where we sit now. There's no way to predict what it'll be like or to know it until you're there. And we'll know when we're there, we'll know. And there's no way to say from here what it's going to be like or how it's going to be. I mean, there's all sorts of perceptual play, but there's no way. So it's like, so to not know is well, obviously there's no way to know until you, because it's so perceptually bigger. It's a higher order of creation, and you can't encapsulate a higher order in a lower order. And that's, we only think in the lower order, but there's no way to know until we're there. So that was good. But then that leaves me in the backseat of the car going, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Because I want to know, but apparently I'll know when I get there. And the other thing was about like expectations. My dad's vision was that none of us, including him, were born in a third dimensional world. That was over in 1920, after the war to end all wars. And we'd been living in a fourth dimensional counterfeit canopy that was protecting our consciousness until we could get strong enough to parry light. And that none of us know what a role actually is, that it used to be our lives, our physical life was our role. There was no separation from our role and ourselves, but we were born into a time when there was. So we can see our roles and play them or not play them. That was never a possibility in the third dimensional world, which apparently I've never known, or if I've known, it's a past life and not this one. So I'm beginning to see his perspective more and more. It's really interesting. It's funny, he told me all these things a long time ago, but I never saw them the way I'm seeing them now. But it explains so much, so I'm good with it. And I gotta go too. I gotta go make some dinner plates out of clay. And this was so much fun. It was like
Just
the
be
good
careful.
old days.
Don't faint and fall again.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks for letting me
it-
talk.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah. So, I know what it was. Jana Kozar put up a comment. It's what for me anyway. I don't know about everybody else. I mean, we're gonna go around again here, but and we're joined by Jillian, so we'll go Anke, Jose, Robert, and then Jillian, and then we'll probably call it a day. But I can't really describe things, like I was saying earlier, I can't really explain what the hell's happened here. I just know there's been a lot of death in the best of senses, and you die and are born in the exact same moment. There's no in between, and it's really wild, right? You're in this, like this void of a place where you just feel empty, but at the same time, this explosion happens and you don't even know what the hell it is. But here's another way that I think gets it close. As Jana Kozar said, it's the scariest and the most beautiful thing at the same time, not knowing. And that doesn't make any sense in where we came from. Even up through, 2 or 3, 4, 5, 6 months ago, certainly up through 2023, none of it makes any sense, all these passion plays that have been playing out, and all these things that have been dying and birthing, and the speed of it all. So I think that that's a pretty good way to look at it, what she said there. It's like dying and birthing at the same time, or being scared shitless and seeing the beauty of it all at the same time. It doesn't make any sense. Anke, you're next.
Yes, it's very interesting what all you are sharing. And I like to share something about the not knowing, because since also 2012, 11, 12, my life changed, and more in spiritual way and whatever. So, and this is increasing, especially the last years, months, weeks. And when I share this with, I have just very few friends I can share it with. And I have this, what I see and what I feel and what I experience. And then I try to explain, but there is no reason why I feel it and why I see it. And then I heard myself say, I don't know. And then I realized, since just this summer, why am I saying I don't know? And this funny thing is, when I say I don't know, it's like I'm shutting myself up off the feeling. When I say I don't know, it's the brain doesn't know.
Right.
In duality, I don't know. In when I look around me, I don't know, because I have no reverence in where I am now, just in my home, in my village, in whatever, in the normally days feeling what's going on. Then I don't know. But in the experience, I know. So I what I do is I say to myself, stop saying, I don't know. And it really, really helped me to go deeper into the experience and just share the experience. And that's it. It's no need to say, I don't know.
So what you're
Because it
saying,
is,
so what you're saying is, I think I know what you're saying. Because I think there's a, I don't know, as in, like somebody says, what's going on with the world? What's going on with ascension? I don't know. That's one thing. But I think what you're saying is that in the experience itself, you found yourself, I'm not saying somebody asked you this directly, but kind of like you, almost like, how are you feeling? Or what are you feeling? I don't know. And what you're saying, that I don't know. You're saying, I'm not going to say that I don't know anymore, which is allowing me to go,
yes.
yes. Yeah. Okay.
And that is helping me in this crazy, chaotic world we're in now. Because, you know, it makes my vision clearer when I read an article of there is some letter coming from the government. Then it's much clearer what's all behind that. And that's okay for me. Because I stay in my own experience. And what really helps me is to expand my heart space. And I have been on courses with Judith Kussel from South Africa
Mm-hmm.
and Lars Mulf from Denmark. And, you know, I taught myself to go into the heart and doing some mantras in the Aramaic language. And it's mind-blowing what's happening then. And it really helps me also to feel compassionate, to have compassion. Because I struggled for years. What is compassion? I did not know. I couldn't feel where to find compassion. Because every time I want to help someone who needs some help, I'm taking advantage of
Right.
of this person to give help. And you know, in a way, it served also me.
Yeah, that's
It
kind of
sounds
what I
crazy.
think. No, I know. I think that's kind of what Robert was talking about. We were talking about it before he came on too, which is
Yes.
it's like I don't know if it's such thing, but let's just say, for the sake of the discussion, the universal law of non-interference. So, you know, we all had that kind of wounded healer thing. We talked about it. You know, we were compelled to help other people, and you would say, in a way, you could say, oh, that's great. You know, I mean, that's certainly well intended, regardless of the programming, but it's more powerful. And this is one of the things I think we're coming into. It's more powerful to make sure we're 100% or close to 100%. And
Yes.
so, in other words, I think it was one of the others said it was like they see somebody, they have compassion, and yet they don't take it on. They don't take the
Oh,
energy on. You know what I mean? It's like weird too, because the way things are unfolding for everyone is, well, the way I'm experiencing it, Morgan and I, is like I think you were talking about earlier. Somebody was talking about it earlier about you can plan on what you want to do, but it ain't going to happen. It's like a flow coming in. You know, I know we overuse that word, but it's unfolding. It shows itself, and you just
yes.
know, right? You just know. Like I'm
I
sitting
know.
here on an extended honeymoon, and I'll say again, well deserved. We you know, in our own lives, to get to this point, and at some point you start going, okay, I've got to create some abundance. You know, I mean, even that's being shot down. You know what I mean? It's like surrendering everything, every belief system, every channeling, every transmission, every download, every past life, everything you think you know, everything that you believe you're destined to do, just to come to this space. And it's very much to me like almost like a lucid dream space where there's no agenda. There's no, it's the visceral experience itself, right? You know what I mean? It's like
Yes, yeah.
that's the point, I guess, or the offering is to actually see and experience all these different things with the element, and anyone that's, you know, like focused on their dreams would relate to what I'm talking about. It's when you can go into a dream and you actually can control it, so to speak, or operate it. You know what I mean? And so that's what I kind of feel like it is. And I think that's where the judgment goes away. Is it's a choice based on what I want to feel, or what most resonates with me, versus fuck that. You know what I mean? Like fuck them, and whoever, or you know what I mean? It's just a, you know, no, I choose not to go there. And to be able to do that, and I'm sure others have experienced this because I've read it and talked, and people have talked about it. To be able to do that with your own family members, like direct family members and friends, like Robert was talking about, you know what I mean? Like to be able to be okay with that, and the afterthoughts are fading and fading and fading, the doubt goes away, you know, and the connection, the conditioned programming connection goes away. The obligation goes away, the role goes away, and you just say, no, it's just not for me, right? I mean, it's just, I want to go this way, you know, which makes sense. It's like like I used to say, you know, you get a kid and you put him in a big room with a bunch of toys. What do? They go to the ones they like. They go play with them, or they go try something. Oh, I don't like that. I'm gonna go try that. I mean, that's kind of how I see the energies presenting itself. It was very nice meeting you, Anke, and I really appreciate your shares, and I'm going to wind it down. You're welcome to stay, but we're going to go to Jose, then Robert, then Jillian, and finish up.
Thanks, Todd. Thank you, Soul Family, man. This has been great. Yeah, totally unplanned. You know, I just turn on YouTube and there's Todd. I'm like, oh man, he's got the link. But I you know, my goal, the plan is not to have a plan. I hear you, man. And how stupid does these terms sound now, like light worker and star seed, and they just sound idiotic at this point, man. But you know, it's for me. I'll give you a quick example. I know we're winding down, man. On Tuesday, I'm sitting at home, reading some Carl Jung, something related to Carl Jung, embracing the shadow, embracing the self. But I'm reading the book, I'm burning incense, and then I get a call from the police to come downstairs, and I guess some soul family, somebody who's going through their experience, decided that they were mad at the world, man, and just started vandalizing cars, and somebody threw a large rock and just shattered two of my windows in my car, man.
Wow.
And I'm sitting there reading the book, and then 2 seconds later, I'm like, okay. And then I go into this, what we've learned. Okay, I go into processing mode, like you said. I think about, okay, what's the lesson? First of all, don't be mad. And start, honoring the person, just thanking them for whatever. And then the police was like, man, you're thinking of something, ain't you? Like, because they don't know, and I'm sitting there trying to remain centered and grounded and not get caught up in the narrative. And so that goes on, and then so I'm not gonna go to the whole story, but anyways, car ends up in a place to get fixed, whatnot. And so then a couple of days later, I'm sitting in my acupuncturist medical doctor, and I that's why Franco held me the other day. He was talking about his experience with the body, and how in his death experience, his guides told him, listen, man, this is what you agreed to. and his how gracious he was, and he never really was a victim. He went about his business, and I've been going through my challenges for about 7, 8 years, and I drank and drove for 29 years, and then all of a sudden, I stopped and I tried to go on this path, and I can't get my body right. So I'm sitting at the doctor's office. He's a medical doctor, but he's a Chinese medicine practitioner. And he's telling me, listen, about something that's going on in my body. He's like, you're gonna have to go take care of that, quote unquote, in the medical system. I'm like, man, why is it? I thought that was the idea, that's why I'm here. I don't want, And so I'm sitting in the table with the needles, feeling the injection, feeling the fear, like, oh man, shit. Okay, so I walk out of there. I go to the nearest park. I sit in a bench. I absorb it. I love it. I said, okay, what's going on? So I look to the distance. There's an office. I call in there. So I have an appointment. I guess I got to go do that. And so there's that up and down. And then I come home today, and I used to have these neighbors that were, just wreaked havoc in my building. We had, look, they broke a lot of rules. They harassed people, just a big. And then all of a sudden, I get a call from my neighbor who's selling next door that he's got an arrangement to sell these people the apartment next to mine. I'm like, no, 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 no. And so now I have to deal with that, and it's not going to happen. But anyways, what I'm saying is what you're talking about, what I've got, the emotions, that's why I'm here, to live, man, to learn to go through that. And like Todd said, not have, and that's what I want to do with my life. I don't, my passion is not to have a passion. I realize that I just want to, absorb this experience and learn from people like Franco, learn from you guys, drop the labels, forget about the agendas, and just be in the moment and embrace the mystery. And like, I understand Todd totally, because I've been thinking that lately too. I was like, what do I, I don't have any plans. I don't have any goals. I'm fine. The overachieving, the having to do something, the programming. What's wrong with just wanting to be a human, man? And watch the sunset and just be in the, what's wrong with that, man? Who the hell, I have to have a career? What the hell's a career, man? You work 50 years in office, they give you a go watch a kick in the ass at cake and go die. You don't know, man. So, just slow down, be in the moment, and because that's where my challenge is. The external really doesn't matter.
All of us, though.
Yeah. I
But
mean,
what you said about the I just want to say what you said about the passion, like, you said it's okay not to, it's okay, right? I get that. And I totally get that. Well, the way it feels for me is closer to, it doesn't feel right. It's like, what am I supposed to do? And it's okay because I get to do it most every day. I get to go, I'll walk out to the beach and, I know all about oyster farming now. And I watch these dudes that are totally present with fucking the universe, man. And, right. So, but there's another part of me that's like, man, I got to do some, I don't know if it's that or I know it's materializing. Like, I know that our role, our piece that's in our soul signature is materializing. So it's kind of like what you said, but it feels a little bit more like what I was saying for me. And that, but back to what you said, like chill the F out, and it's here, it's coming.
I guess what I've been told is, we all have our journey.
Yeah.
And to be blunt, I was told, my God, listen, man, you've had an inflated ego all your life.
Welcome to the club, man.
And like,
you can't be a human being without having that.
I know, or
it could be a deflated ego. I mean, it's the same damn
or whatever.
thing.
It's the same. That's why narcissist and empath is the same thing.
It's the same thing,
same
right?
thing.
Yeah.
It's an out of proportion ego, or whatever it experienced at the moment.
That's the great thing too. Is well, to me, what I've learned, so much of this, we've documented, and it's been really, like I said, it's always, having somebody to do it with for 9 years is phenomenal. But to get to a point where you realize, you know, like if you got two sides to something, you're going to have a favoritism to one side. You're going to be more inclined to identify with one side, but it's the other side that's the big payoff. You know what I mean? It's the other side that really, and going back to Franco, like one of the other things he said was where, as they were fielding people coming, you know, transitioning out of this realm, uh, they would cut that the people that are connected to us, you might say the souls that are connected to us that aren't incarnated, when we transition and pass through, they don't want to hear about all the lovey-dovey bullshit. They don't want to, they're very familiar with that. You know what I mean? They want to know about the grind, man. Right.
Yeah.
So that's been a big one for me. It's helped me on a personal level. It's helped me in my relationship, I believe. It's allowed me, it's particularly very recently. And I don't know if this is a masculine thing, but man, my heart is just fucking exploding, man. It's like I've just turned into this. I don't even know how to explain it. Like the basic things that drive a man or a male have disappeared. You know, it's like whoa. But it's just like that whole passion thing, like your vocation or your you know your function. Uh, I know it's coming through or coming out, but I'm just amazed at the things that have released from me that weren't necessarily bad things, but they were human male conditioned things. And it's so weird because I would have thought that I would have been like hanging on for dear life, don't let go, don't let go. And maybe I wasn't conscious of it, but a lot's left the house, and I think that's not just subjected to me. I think it's reflective of what's happened with the masculine energy in all of us. But man, thank you for coming in,
Thank you,
Jose.
man. I'll finish with
Yeah,
this. I
yeah,
forgot I wanted to add. So at the end of the day, I guess another thing that I was told is uh, just find a way to be a way to be of service. You
yeah,
know, find a way to whatever that looks like for me. You know, because that's what balances me, and
yeah,
that I go through all this work and I go through this human experience on a day-to-day basis. Every day is new. We drop everything, start afresh, learn from the sun and the every day is new. Forget about my preconceived notions of what you said, what who I am, what I'm supposed to be, and how at the end of the day, how can I apply these lessons and be of service without over serving or without overstepping my and just like be ready. This is all training for when you hear the call. When you hear the call, you'll know when it's time to step in and be of service.
well, you know
You know,
what, I'm going to say this on record. I believe that we entered this space in the Trinity energy. So that means that coming here and being in this body is service to the universe. It's providing uh, to that point unseen or unknown experiences that can only come from the boots on the ground, you know, the soul and the
yeah,
body. But
being here present. That's why
yeah,
what you say. If I'm
yeah,
in presence and I'm here, I'm
yeah.
acknowledging all of me, the
Well,
shadows.
just showing up. We showed up. And
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
so much of it has been not giving ourselves credit. So, you know, as Morgan says, a copy is a copy is a copy. Why wouldn't that apply from the moment we walked in the door?
No
All
doubt.
right, man.
Thank you.
Robert Evans, thank you for your patience. You look good. Your hair's long.
Oh, thank
Let
you.
me ask you this before you get started. What part of the country or the world are you in now?
I am in Massachusetts. I crash landed at my parents' house.
Oh, wow. Cool, man.
Yeah,
Cool.
I thought I had things figured out. I thought I was moving somewhere. I had all these plans and all of my things, all my money, my car, everything gone. I'm at zero. So I'm figuring things out. I'm actually at negative. So
It sounds like hey, it sounds like you're in the perfect spot, dude.
right,
And I'll
right.
say this too, a lot of people, Morgan and I included, over the past few months or whatever, have revisited our family, you know. like
Yeah.
regardless of the histories. And as Ram Dass used to say, if you think you're awake, and go spend some time with your family. But I think it's taken on a whole nother meaning now. I really do. I think it's taken on a whole nother level. So, good graces to you and your family, and I look forward to uh, your experience when you come out the other end.
Yeah, yeah. Well, honestly, and this is such an interesting thing. It's listening to people talk here. It's interesting, the mind, right? Like the monkey mind wanting to share my perspective, and then I kind of just let it go down the stream, and then here comes another concept that's so deep and intricate and amazing. And the consciousness of each individual on this show, I really enjoy. That's always been the case with Soology. I just enjoy people who go there, right? People who are interested in these concepts, who dive inside and pay attention. And yeah, but being here, I'm actually learning such deep self-acceptance for my challenges in my journey. And such deep self-acceptance for the challenging situation I'm in right now. And I do see it like a video game. I feel like, it's interesting. Maybe perhaps I've seen some of the back end of the Matrix, or maybe it's all an illusion. It's all an illusion anyway. So I guess maybe I've seen some of the illusion, but maybe the illusion was showing me some illusion. So you never know. There's some confusion about the illusion, but the restitution comes in letting go of the pollution around the illusion, knowing that your confusion is actually there to teach you. Anyway, so with it, I'm realizing that I failed for a purpose. I had goals. I had a mission. I had a plan, and that mission, that plan was just it was just kind of a game. That's all it was. It was just another game. I just took on a game to play, and that game, I didn't even really fail. It just was a very intense, very short time period of the game that had a different outcome than I thought it would be. And now I'm in a new game. And now in this new game, I'm really excited to actually go back and work some quote unquote normal jobs and get my money right and get myself in a good situation, and, hustle and grind. And I listen to a lot of people outside of the spiritual community now. I'm actually very disinterested in most spiritual information because I've just gone so deep for so long. I almost like need a detox. And so I'm really into people, actually, like ex-military people, and because I was a wrestler, I was a mixed martial artist, right? I'm interested in these people. Like, it's like integrating these interesting parts I would have never thought would come in, but like they're coming back in. And then integrating like psychology and philosophy and these other parts, and I'm just learning that, like, I'm just a person who loves to explore consciousness in its many different realms. And I'm going to keep exploring them in their many different realms. And I'm interested in leadership, and I'm interested in these things. I'm interested in business, and it doesn't matter which game. Go explore how you want to explore. That's really it. Like, just pick it up, play with it, explore it, learn its lessons. Know it was a game at the end of the day, though. Like, it's not life. It's not what life has to be or is supposed to be or like whatever. It was just a game. Right. Like, you just took on a role to play it, and now you're going into a different role, and you're going to play this different role with nuance from the past roles you play, and then integrate all those roles and just it's like being an actor in this great cosmic play. And I'm just becoming really cool with it, that I don't know, my role right now is like super humble, and I don't know. I feel like it's not as big of a deal as I've made it out to be at times. Like, I'm not.
Right. I love what you said. I love it because I think you just said it a while ago. You were like, it's not a matter of life and death, and truly, it's not. So I think it's like I just have one question for you, and I went ahead and let Bob in for a quick comment too after Jillian, but Robert, like at this stage for you, and there's no linear here, there's no comparisons here. I'm just curious because you're being very honest. What was it like to, quote unquote, lose everything and land back where you're landing. Was it tough to swallow? Did it take you a minute to get, to get to the space that you're describing now, or
Oh
is
yeah.
it still a work in process?
Well, it's a work in process for sure, but so I am a person who it's even debatable if I do too much energy healing on myself. That's primarily who I do the most work on, is me, right?
Mm.
I just do a ton of work on myself. And I'm having very big challenges in my relationship, actually. I'm having very big challenges with my family. I'm having very big challenges with a few people based off of my intensity and my behavior. And it's been incredibly humbling. And, I've been honest and nice about things, but I still have made choices that have been challenging for others. And so I guess the thing that I should say is like, I went through absolute hell for about 2 weeks. Like I hated my life, maybe for 3 or 4. Like I absolutely and I looked at all this spiritual stuff. I looked at all my teams. I looked at everything that I communicate with multidimensionally. I was like, show me you aren't demons. Like I literally went through every single thing in my consciousness and was like, what the fuck is this? Why does this even matter? Who am I? What is this context? Am I just being deceived? Am I just in some huge illusion? Like, what is the point of any of this shit? And I just came out recently. And I'm still kind of going through it, but I feel very different now. But I'm just taking a look at myself. I've shrunk the amount of multidimensional beings I communicate with. It's primarily only my aspects now. Just other parts of me and me. That's about it. And if it doesn't feel like me, I'm not as down. I don't care about whatever fancy being that has some fancy title or name or council or blah blah blah. I used to think that was God. I used to think that was important. I don't think that's important anymore. I really don't.
I like that.
I just take a look at it and I'm just like, I went to whatever mountain I thought that I needed to climb spiritually. And I got to the top of it and said, holy shit, I don't know that I want to be here. That's really what happened. I got to the top of whatever mountain I thought was really important, not saying it was the mountain, just whatever mountain I thought was important. And I said, I don't know that I freaking like my life.
Only one?
Yeah, many mountains, right? But I was just like, I don't know that I even like this shit.
Yeah.
Is this even me?
Yeah.
And now I'm taking a look and I'm saying, actually, I do like this stuff. Actually, I do enjoy it. But I also enjoy this, and I enjoy this, and I enjoy this. And I want to be responsible, and I want to pay my bills because my bills are freaking negative right now. And I just want to be on top of shit and be super spiritual and have fun and create the things I want to create. I feel free in a lot of it, but also I feel like a 29-year-old man too. And that's okay. And that's another thing. Our challenges are different people, like you and me, we're going through same journey and different journey, that's okay. I'm learning to integrate all of that and just take a step back and just be like, yeah. So, but anyway, just to answer the question you said there. Yeah. I hated myself for a second.
Mm.
And, now I'm just kind of looking at myself again and I'm just like, it's like that Jesus quote, forgive them for they know not what they do. Forgive me for I knew not what I was doing.
Exactly. That's the point.
I have no freaking clue. But going back to what the Anke said, right? The larger I did know. There was some huge grand scheme of everything. The larger I am, right, did have a plan. And actually, everything I asked for, I received.
Right.
It just was like freaking genie in the bottle. You make a wish and it turns out to not be what you wanted. So it's just a messy hero's journey, and I'm grateful to have gone on it. I'm grateful for the next one, and for what I'm going to go through, but I'm probably going to not mess up, but be a bit of a mess as I do it too. And I just am learning to accept that.
Right on.
It's okay.
Yeah. And I just want to add, I like what you were saying about the different aspects. I personally believe it's not a debate. I'm just saying, cause it's not what I'm trying to say, but they're all me, whether I think they are or not. But I like what you said because of, paring it down. And that's another thing I started telling myself years ago, probably 10 years ago, just in my own head was, regardless of what showed itself to me by whatever means it did, who's the only one that shows up every time? Me. So I started, maybe we all did this in our own way, but just this evolution of putting more, more presence or substance with my own voice, which I still find very ironic and intriguing that it seems like it's all coming back to this, right? All that other stuff is all, cool and everything, but it's all like heading us, bringing us right back here. And then to be in a situation, to be in this form and be able to share like moments like this, I think is like I said earlier, I think this is our most powerful potential, where the human is totally, unmasked. And, it's humbling. Like you said, it's very humbling. Jillian, thank you, Robert, so much for joining us. You're welcome to stick around.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm going to have Jillian and then Bob, and then we'll head out.
I
Go
thought I
ahead, Jill.
skidded in at the last minute because
Yeah.
it took me that long to work out how to join.
Oh,
Anyway,
yeah. It's good to see you.
yeah, nice to see you. Yeah, I'm not even sure what to share because, or except a big piece at the moment that I'm well aware of is this: just stop trying to control by trying to understand.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the key, the foundation that we lay down for having to control is we can't do it unless we understand it. I'm not too bad about trying to understand stuff, although I have had a habit of liking things structured, but that's gone long ago. But it's interesting too about losing everything because it depends on what everything is. 30 years ago when my mind went, that was everything for me, because that was the piece that allowed me to be in this whatever this is. And so regardless of anything else, it allowed me to sort of generate what I needed to be in this realm. And so when my mind went, I had to literally reconfigure the whole way I engaged with everything here. And it's interesting. So I'm not trying to be funny. I've just forgotten the next point because that's right. Because recently I'd noticed I'd lost my nerve, and that's a similar thing. Because my nerve has allowed me to go into any situation and just do it. And recently I'd kind of lost my nerve. Well, I hadn't I had lost my nerve. I could, if somebody needed somebody to stand up on a stage and speak to 1,000 people before, I would have had no problems with that. I don't know what I don't think I would go anywhere near the situation. I think it's coming back again. So now is different. But, recently, I don't think I would have gone anywhere that there might have been a situation where I might have had to go on a stage and speak to 1,000 people, if that makes sense. Just I haven't been putting myself in any position where I might need to do things that would take nerve. And for folks who know me well, they know what I'm like. It's like you can put me in any situation in the past, in any situation, and I would just do it because why wouldn't I be able to do it? So the whole concept of losing everything is very variable depending on the moment for each of us.
Have you lost
that makes
anything?
sense.
Have you lost anything lately?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's been in that regard.
Right. I see.
That's what I'm saying. It's so
that's a good,
30 years ago,
yeah.
it felt like my whole world collapsed because I lost my mind. And I don't know whether that was pivotal to that, but I spent 8 years not wanting to live, which was an interesting one to navigate. And I mean it interesting to navigate, and huge gifts in there, but not a delight to harvest.
So that's what I thought you were saying. So at this point in the present, in the recent past, you've had this this autopilot characteristic of being able to stand up in front of 1,000 people and start talking, but it's gone. So I see.
Well, I don't know. I think it might be back again. But the other thing is too, how can we lose anything? It's not possible to lose anything anyway.
But I mean, at the
Because
personal,
none of it's real.
But at the personal level, which
Yeah,
is
we can
kind
have
of
the
like,
experience of
yeah,
it.
but that's kind of what we were like accenting today, was like at the personal level. Not that we went through the same pain or the suffering, or maybe we did or whatever, but you're basically saying that it's a different perspective. You know, you back then, for that period of time, you lost everything in that sense.
No, no, I didn't lose. I didn't lose materially, but I lost what I was meaning was, it was like I founded everything on my mental acuity, and I lost my mind,
Right,
and that took my foundation away.
Right.
At that stage.
So this is
so
similar.
everything was founded on my mind. I mean, I I had I had a photographic memory and all that kind of stuff. So I structured everything around about a very, very, I had a high IQ and all that. I don't know what my IQ would be now, but and it was so that I founded everything on that, because that was what I had. And then now I know I flew everything by the seat of my pants, because I could just put me in any situation and I'd be fine. And I'd lost my nerve with that, and that meant I couldn't be in any situation and be fine, if that makes sense.
Right.
So now I've kind of relocated into just stay home. You'll be fine. Just stay home
until you're called. Yeah, I'm just making
which is fine too, because
yeah,
I know that at the moment, one of the things with me is my particular personality can be a bit of a demolition squad around other people if they're challenged. So I think it's probably been a good idea for me to stay home anyway, because there's a lot of people challenged at the moment.
Yeah. Thank you. Good seeing you again.
So, yeah.
Thank you very much. Bob, you want to take us out? How's it going? What's happening? But you got to unmute. What's it been like for you the last couple of months? Are you having anything stand out for you that's kind of taking you by surprise, or your own personal growth or experience?
Are you asking me? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, you hear me now. I wanted to say hi. I just happened upon this, a few minutes back. I was just letting go of stuff, just relaxing with everything, basically. Doing a lot of the similar stuff I've been doing. I'm painting more now. I mean, as far as artist painting, but it's different to where I'm just really free with it, relaxed with it, with less editors. So letting go of the editors or the critics, or just imagining somebody, what will they think, and all that kind of stuff. Doing drawings, which are abstract, but they're kind of energy drawings, I think. I don't know what they mean, but but I just keep drawing them as a practice every morning. Really, I've kind of been focusing on the one thing you said, which is you're serving when you came here, or you're serving just being. We're all what I get is just being, is you're being an aspect. Whatever you do is serving. Whatever you do is feeding information to source. Doesn't matter what it is, and it's all a part of it. So that's, I suppose you could say, the mission, but I've given up on the idea of mission. Just being, and whatever that means, and it's different for each person, and that's the point. Just being in whatever ways you express yourself feeds the all.
Yeah, true. True that. True
Yeah.
that. But it's got to be something, because why would we be the one consistent voice in all the downloads, transmissions, meditations, dreams that we have? Why would we always be there? Um, so we must be pretty important.
Well,
But then again, we could just be an experiment in a petri dish on
I,
Arcturus.
that's
Yeah,
saying that
right.
I always like that when you put that out, because I
Mm.
think that too. I think of Men in Black and I say, well, what if we're
Yeah, but we won't. And I don't know. I don't know. I mean, to me, like
fine?
it's gotten to the point where it's happening, and it's like a
Mhm.
simplification, some kind of simplification, and you can't hide. And as much as we want to project, I mean, that's a huge lesson for me, is that, projection. I know no matter who or what it is, when I project on something or someone, it's got nothing to do with them. I don't give a damn what the situation is. I don't give a damn what they quote unquote have done to me, or whatever the case is. It's a decision and a choice that I don't have to make anymore. And I'm better
Right.
off to shut the fuck up and not project, or
Well, it's
not
very,
risk projecting, for my own personal well-being. You know what I mean? So,
oh yeah.
uh, I don't know. I feel like that life is sacred, and yeah, like I love that Joseph Campbell quote. I say it all the time, but if you can't get it here, you're not going to get it anywhere.
Yeah.
This is
Well,
it right
um,
here. This is it.
any of the actors, whatever, however they're perceived,
Hmm.
um, they're serving,
Yeah, of course.
and they're a soul,
Yeah, that's right.
soul. So, who am I to say?
It's
Right.
it's it's funny because and again, we know this, everything's upside down.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, you can't have a bias, you can't have exceptions. I saw an interesting quote. We got to get out of here because I got
Sure.
somewhere to go. But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
saw an interesting quote the other day. I never seen it because I'm a history buff, and
Hmm.
It was JFK. It
Hmm.
was 1962, and he was speaking about Hitler, and he said years, decades down the road, they're going to see him in a different light. Not that he didn't do certain things or whatever the case was,
Hmm.
but I think it was talking in regard to the central bank,
Okay.
and and all the different people from Hitler to Gaddafi that have turned away from the central bank, and what's been the outcome of it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Uh, but uh, but yeah, so it's like you know, it's like you never know. I mean, we can't put our eggs in a basket even. But I
Hmm.
like that thing that Robert was talking about. So that's my new thing now. Like, like what's the one voice that always shows up?
Hmm.
Me, and that's my soul's in there somewhere. You know, but
Yeah.
this has been great. I really appreciate everybody jumping on with me. I mean, I don't know if I'll do this again or whatever the case is. I just felt like it was, I just felt like maybe trying to put something out there where we could talk and not what it's funny because I go on, when I do go on YouTube or Facebook, or even I've been on X now for about a month. I can't find anything I can stick with. Like, I can't watch anything. It's like the same old shit. Like, it's a record player. I was a child of the '60s, so the album would get scratched and it would just play over and over and over at a certain part, right? But I just wanted to try to put something out there and see what happened. And what do we have? Like 8 people came in, so that's very cool. I love you all. Thank you very much for coming in. I look forward to seeing you down the road, somewhere.